Hey guys, Nick here, and today we will be seeing if Shane will make a full recovery and aid Daryl and Maggie in killing Negan, or if the plan will happen at all, and if Shane will even be able to make a full recovery after what Negan did to him. This is part 19 to What If Rick Spared Shane, the awesome remake. Now in the last episode, it's going to be a short recap for the most part, Daryl and Maggie, before coming up with the precise plan to kill Negan, go to Alexandria, Maggie being very reluctant to even want to check up on Shane after everything has happened. And Shane has redeemed himself in more ways than one, even though he's betrayed the group on more than one occasion. So that's why they wanted to go and see him. And plus, he's been around with them since the beginning. And Shane's making an alright recovery. He's not going to be doing any serious fighting or running or big things like that, but for the most part, he has recovered. And whenever he hears that Daryl and Maggie are making a plan to kill Negan, he's on board with it, even if he's not fully recovered. Daryl and Maggie are definitely very happy to hear this and tell Shane that, yeah, he's redeemed himself completely, even though he's betrayed them on more than one occasion. And even if he can't make a full recovery, they are very happy and proud of him for making amends and being on board and doing what he did. And even though he didn't kill Negan, doing what he did to try and avenge Glenn. So, after that, I am going to now explain all the other characters that I left out in the last episode and what they've been up to. Sadiq still gets saved by Carl, and also Lori, like what if Lori survived, except this time, I feel that Carl and Lori in this particular story, like my first What If Rick Spared Shane, would be stronger, except more so in this story for Lori, because, you know, she died in my last story, my last outing of this. But I'm going to throw Lori an extra bone here and say that she does not get bitten here. Nobody does. Carol and Ezekiel do get together still, but it is later down the line that they actually, become a thing. Later than in the original story. And speaking of Carol, and people acquainted to her especially, Mika in particular, because, Axel died, Mika is now getting into her adult years, and she's still around, obviously, and she joins Carol on regular occasions. She's always been around Carol, especially in her young years. We all knew how much Mika liked Carol, and with her being around Carol a bunch of times, especially in the Kingdom, she gets to know the likes of Benjamin and Henry. Now, whether she gets acquainted to both or one of them, love-wise, is completely up to you guys, because that's where I am more or less confused on who she would be, love interested in. So that's up to you guys. Either way, it would be good to see either or both love interests happen, especially for the likes of Carol, Ezekiel, and Morgan. Morgan more or less because of Benjamin and Henry, Carol and Ezekiel for Benjamin, Henry, and Mika. Rosita and Spencer also become an actual thing here, a long-lasting thing here, because they had sort of a relationship going before, Negan killed Spencer, and Spencer tried to find a way to kill Rick and put himself in charge, but now they actually become a thing. Carl and Enid also get a good relationship here, like pretty much all my other Walking Dead stories, and Yeah, basically, like I said before, I'm going through all the other characters and relationships and bonds before we jump into Season 9 territory. T-Dog, who is still alive here, just haven't found a really good place to make him relevant in the story. Now I am. T-Dog, I feel, since he doesn't really have particular people to get himself in a relationship with that I can see, would be around Tyrese and Sasha most of the time, because that's basically all I can really think to do. Whether or not he would get, acquainted with Sasha is completely up to you guys once again, but for the most part, that is all I can think in terms of what to do with T-Dog. Eugene, since he did not betray the group to join Negan and the Saviors and make them bullets, which then backfired, I feel would continue to make bullets and support Alexandria and all the other communities the best of his ability. So, pretty much like his original outing, really. Andrea is still alive here also, living far, far more than her original counterpart, especially the ones that I have made in all my other stories. And that goes for a bunch of other characters that are still alive here that I have either already explained or have yet to, which is why I figured before I jump into actual story territory, I tell you guys the gist of all the other characters. Deanna is also still alive and remains the former leader of the Alexandria community, still in charge of a bunch of the workings of getting the communities back in balanced shape and helping out Rick and all the others. So, yeah. Also, speaking of Alexandria people, Jesse is still around, not really much of a milestone at this point, along with Sam growing into his teen years, because, honestly, now that Rick and Lori are still a thing and everybody else got relationships, Jesse and Sam are more or less side characters, if anything. Now, for the bridge, even though all the saviors are pretty much dead, not even pretty much, they are dead, does this mean problems for the bridge? No, because basically all the communities lost little to no one. So this would mean that the bridge wouldn't even be a problem or matter. So Rick is still going to stay a part of the group. So yeah, not really much of a problem there. Gregory does still try to attempt to kill Maggie in an attempt to get leadership for Hilltop, but as we know, that doesn't go too well, and now we're actually getting into story territory. Maggie does still go to Alexandria, except under way different circumstances, and it's not in a mad frenzy from Rick to try to get her to stand down, but when she goes to try and kill Negan, which does still happen, Lori stops her instead of Michonne. And they actually have a pretty deep conversation, which is something that we really would not have truly seen since Season 2, whenever Maggie basically yelled at Lori for almost getting the both of them killed at the pharmacy. Her and Glenn, I mean. Anyways, Lori pleads to Maggie to not do this and explains why. She explains something that she has not talked about for a long time. She tells Maggie that before they even met at Herschel's farm, Shane tried to rape her at the CDC and was just completely out of his mind for her. And even with that, time after time, Shane redeemed himself. He changed for the group. And even though he betrayed them on more than one occasion, he made up for it and is still here. Maggie, after hearing that Shane tried to rape her at the CDC, especially, she did not know about this, obviously, and just stops dead in her tracks, because this actually gets Maggie's attention wholeheartedly. She had no idea about any of this, and is actually more on board with listening to the rest of what Lori has to say. Lori says that vengeance will not solve anything. It will not bring back Glenn. It will start something else. And that now, with none of the saviors alive and Negan being dealt with, this will work. And Rick did the right thing. And that if she does kill Negan, it won't take the pain away. Maggie, believe it or not, listens to this, but still is in no mood to forgive Negan, which is understandable. But she says that she won't go about killing Negan, but she's not going to forgive him either, and smiles and walks away. And that was almost a little too easy, but it's still dealt with. Speaking of Negan, Rick is still taking regular trips to talk to Negan about the reconstruction of the communities, or, not really reconstruction so much as to say order. So he's still paying trips to Negan, telling him about what's going on and everything, except now it's under much different circumstances because Negan did way less than his original counterpart. One day, Rick actually takes it upon himself to ask Negan a specific question. Why has he done this? What made him the guy that he was? What made him kill all these people? Put him under his foot? What was the deal? Negan honestly did not expect this question, especially from Rick. But seeing as though he's got nothing else better to do or to really say, he decides to humor Rick and explains his origin, the origin of what made him him. He explains that he used to have a wife named Lucille, and that the bat that he had was named after her. He explains that right whenever the apocalypse started, Lucille had cancer, and he had gone to try and get the treatment, but he couldn't bring himself to bring her with him, and that he was going to do anything in his power to keep her alive, but that he had gotten kidnapped by a biker gang. When he came back, she was dead. She had killed herself, and from that day forth, the bat that he had been given by Laura and the people who had saved him, pretty much, kind of, he had turned into his own personal weapon, and that's how he became Negan. Little side note also, since Morales is still alive, and T-Dog's still alive, I feel that the two of them would hang around a lot too. I know it's kind of in the middle of a deep story between Negan explaining his backstory a few seasons early, but I feel that that's something that I should have brought up. Anyways, after Rick hears this, it definitely hits him hard because, Lori hasn't died, Carl hasn't died, so he hasn't really experienced the pain of losing someone he truly loves. So this definitely gets Rick, and he now understands why Negan did what he did and why he was the man he was, and agrees to make a deal with him. He will let him have his bat and his freedom back in exchange for one thing. There is a bridge that they are trying to reconstruct for better trips for the communities and better deliveries. And if Negan can help successfully with that and get the bridge back up line, he will give him his bat back and his freedom. But he has to prove himself first, truly. Negan, not seeing any other way out of this and wanting his bat and freedom back, agrees to this, seeing no other real way to get his freedom back. I mean, he might have gotten back later down the line, but it would still have taken way more time than getting him out and actually getting fresh air and having a chance. Now, after hearing this, Rosita, Michonne, Daryl, Maggie, and Shane especially aren't too thrilled at the prospect of Negan getting out of his cell, for one thing, and a deal to get his bat and freedom back. And yeah, this really hits all of them hard because they just think that Rick's being foolish at this point. But Rick says that Negan really has not done too much to them. It's not that big a deal. Abraham and Glenn, mainly, are the two main things that made Negan a bad guy. So, it's better than just killing him outright. Now, will Negan actually do this and get his freedom? Or is this just another way for Negan to get his leader role back and turn on the group? That's where we leave things for the moment. Hope that you guys enjoyed this episode and are enjoying What If Rick Spared Shane the remake as a whole. And hope that you guys saw my recent community post about making other remakes, because trust me, there's plenty more where this came from. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.